Mm-hmm. Da, 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 da. Maybe I should have done it like this. Oh, I can just do it like this. Pin. Ping. Okay, balls. What up, guys? We looked at Tor yesterday. Because Tor based, Tor cool. The online presence of the Onion Boys, aka Onion Links, is also based and cool. The issue with Tor is it's not as decentralized, in my opinion, as some of the other options. Now, Tor is the longest. It has the most funding. And it definitely has benefits to it. And I think that it also has a lot of schizophrenic writings. We might dive more into more sites on Tor, but I feel like all of them have probably been discovered at some point because you have like 30 different channels on YouTube where they're like, I ordered this box from this box of feet pics from the deep web. Ooh. And it's most likely clickbait and a bunch of bullshit. Yep, they are called eepsites or eepsites because they make you eepy. Now, the cool thing is we're going to learn about first what I2P is for the people that watch this later and comment on the video because they respect me and YouTube respects me and they value me as a creator. And I am not controversial in any way. So we're going to first look up what is I2P, what its original intention was, how long it's been around, actually a long time, surprisingly, and what it can do for you. Now, one of the biggest problem with EP's sites in I2P is it's not as portable or easy, and I'm using heavy quotes because you can't see, easy to configure as Tor. Tor is just a browser, and you download it. You can actually run any browser with Tor. You can run Tor like proxies and like point it to your browser, and there's ways around it, but it's not recommended because you have a different screen resolution. This could break the anonymity to a certain degree because you are effectively you look different, you look special, you look unique, which is not good. So we first must understand what I2P is. I2P doesn't run into this kind of like issue where you have to think about the browser as much. Like, the Tor Foundation's like, don't put your browser like this because it bad. And if it bad, it not cool, it could break anonymity, which is not good. Now, what you were looking at was the main page of I2P. Pretty much you download it, you start it, and you run it, and then you connect it to Firefox or whatever browser that you honestly want. Firefox is just the easiest. Chrome has some security advantages. Epstein files. We're not allowed to say that word. Remember, they didn't do anything wrong, guys. Probably nothing, right? So, I2P is the Invisible Internet Project. Tor has many problems. Yeah, Tor has a lot of problems. I mean, I could go on a list of them, but one of the main problems they first picked was Firefox and Firefox is a shithole compared to Chrome. Chrome has better sandboxing when it comes to security. They could have chosen that, and it would have been a better option probably. The fact that they got rid of user agents was kind of retarded. They say that it's not necessarily, but we've kind of proven that you're removing a feature that actually is necessary to help make everything look the same. And Tor pretty much chooses what nodes you connect to. A lot of them are owned by federal agents. Federal agents probably own a ton of nodes. Enough people for as long as Tor's been out doesn't run a node. They don't run a node because they're afraid that the FBI is going to break their door down and start blasting, which is what you don't want. But whatever, if people want to be a bitch, they can. Your only real concern is if you run an exit node, and you can run an exit. You don't have to run an exit node at your fucking house. You can just find a VPS that doesn't really care about DMCA strikes, like they ignore them, and run an exit node and pay with Monero. Problem solved. And just never connect to that server. What's going on, man? Never connect to that server with your real IP address. Just don't be retarded. Don't be retarded. It's that simple. Run an exit node if you want. Don't be retarded. But we're going to get into what I2P does and how what some problems it solves. So I2P is the Invisible Internet Project, is a fully encrypted private network layer that protects your activity and location. Every day, people use the network to connect with people without worrying being tracked, their data being collected. In some cases, people rely on the network when they need to discreet or doing sensitive work. It's peer-to-peer. The network is people-powered. Peers make the portion of the resources, particularly bandwidth, available to other network participants. This allows the network function without relying on centralized servers. Guzzler? Oh, thank you. I2P cares about privacy and security by design. I2P has created transport protocols that resist DPI censorship and continuously improves on its end-to-end encryption. Now, there are some issues, and there have been some vulnerabilities in the I2P network that have made it problematic, and there is some problems, just like there is with Tor, but they're not nearly as bad. So we're gonna go to how to pretty much the I2P network is a fully encrypted peer-to-peer overlay network. Observers cannot see a message's content, source, or destination. No one can see where the traffic is coming from, where it's going, or where contents are. Additionally, I2P transports offers resistance to regional and blocking by sensors because the network relies on peer-to-peer routed traffic. Location-based blocking is a challenge that grows with the network. Every router in the network participates, making the network anonymous. Except cases where it would be unsafe, everyone participates in sending and receiving network traffic. This is like the benefit of I2P. Everyone is the router. You don't need to go set up your own node. You don't need to rent a VPS to do this. You just are the router. You are part of the network. And this is immunity by herd. You are doing some form of herd anonymity where everyone is participating, and then there is no choosing. You can actually decrease and increase the amount of hops that you do. Now, this is going to affect bandwidth, not bandwidth. This is going to essentially affect like your speed of the internet and the sites you visit. It's going to have an impact on it. The more hops that you change, the more think of it, it's like Tor makes it so more people equals slower, and I2P makes it more people. Yeah. So like less. Well, I mean, Tor's not even that slow. I think people like over exaggerate that. I mean, I2P can be very slow, especially first starting up, because it's got to make all the connections. I think Tor is faster than I2P, but obviously there are, and you don't just go to the regular websites. By the way, you just there's. We'll get into that in a second. I mean, I2P is kind of like trying to be something similar to Tor, but different. And then we're going to visit some websites. There's a lot of cool websites out there on the I2P. Anyone can set up an I2P network. You can actually have an email routed through I2P that's completely decentralized and open source. And you can import your PGP keys and encrypt everything. The problem with it is there's not a lot of email providers out there. There is one that I did use to communicate with certain people that were on the I2P network. The biggest problem is those addresses get recycled. Because it's a free service, they get recycled. That is dangerous and problematic if you have bad OPSEC. That's why I would never say use it as your day-to-day use. And make sure you encrypt everything with PGP as much as possible. Okay, So how do you connect to the I2P network? The core software, Java, boo, includes a router that introduces and maintains the connection with the network. It also provides application configuration options to personalize your experience. What can I do on the I2P network? The network provides an application layer for services, applications, and network management. The network also has its own unique DNS that allows self-hosting and mirroring of content of the internet, ClearNet. So you can get to the ClearNet. You have to use Stormy, I think is what it's called. The I2P network functions the same way as the internet does. The Java software, including a BitTorrent client and email as well as static web templates. Other applications can easily be added to your router. You do not need JavaScript, essentially, to visit a lot of these sites. An overview of the network. I2P uses cryptography to achieve the variety of proprietary properties in the tunnels it builds and the communication it transports. I2P tunnels are use transports NTCP2 and SUSU2 to conceal the traffic being transported over it. Connections are encrypted from the router to router and from client to client, end to end. Forward secrecy is provided for all connections, which is super important because I2P is cryptographically addressed. I2P network addresses are self-authenticating and only belong to the user who generates them. The network is made up of peers, routers, which everyone is, and the unidirectional inbound and outbound of virtual tunnels. Routers communicate with each other using protocols built on existing transport mechanisms, TCP and UDP. Passaging messages. Client applications have their own cryptographic identifiers, destinations, which enables it to send and receive messages. These clients can connect to any router and authorize the temporary allocation, lease, of the same tunnels that will be used for sending and receiving messages through the network. I2P has its own internal network database using a modification of the Cadamelia DHT for distributing router and contact information securely. I2P network is almost completely decentralized with the exception of what we call reseed servers. This is to deal with the DHT distributed hash table bootstrap problem. Basically, there is not a good and reliable way to get out of running at least one permanent bootstrap node that non-network participants can find. Fine to get started. Once connected to the network, a router only discovers peers by building exploratory tunnels. But to make the initial connection, a reseed host is required to create the connections and onboard a new router to the network. Reseed servers can be observed when a new router has downloaded a reseed from them, but nothing else about the traffic on the I2P network. The I2P network does not exit traffic. Out proxies to the internet are run by volunteers and centralized services. The privacy benefits from participating in the I2P network comes from remaining inside the network and not accessing the internet. Tor browser or a trusted VPN are better options for browsing the internet privately. Comparisons. There are a great many other applications and projects working on anonymous communication, and I2P has been inspired by their efforts. This is not a comprehensive list of anonymous resources, but both Freehaven's anonymity bibliography and the GNU Net's related projects serve that purpose. Well said. There are a few systems stand out for further comparison. The following have individual pages: Tor and then Freenet. The following are discussed on there. I2P is based. So yeah, there are, like we said, out proxies that exist within the network. Stormy is one of the biggest ones. The biggest problem is it's not intended purpose to do it. You're supposed to. You kind of are in this intranet where like everything is contained within its own system, peer to peer, and it kind of just works. It's if you like the old feel of the old internet, this is then the place for you. Tor is you can kind of go anywhere. You are trusting that the exit nodes aren't malicious, but this is kind of everywhere is kind of within its own system. That's why I do like I2P a lot more for its own reasons. And there is no central authority besides obviously the reseed servers, but the selected papers in anonymity. And then there is Freenet. Freenet's been around for a long time. Freenet is a fully distributed. There attempts by Tim to develop a distributed data store to run on top of I2P. Most recently, a port of Tau. This is actually very cool. If you've never used Tahoe LAFS, later, Billy. This is the least authority file store. It's kind of cool. We've talked about it a few times, but it's very based. So networks without observability, design options, the dining cryptographers, dining cryptographers problem, unconditional sender receiver. Yeah, this would be probably kind of cool to just read over. There's a lot of stuff here though. Freehaven. We could probably make a whole fucking series just by reading this stuff. Cache, anonymous credentials, economics, formal methods, private information retrieval, possible shuffles, pseudo-anonymity, Tor performance, traffic analysis, analyst comps, etc., etc. You can read it in HTML format. Oh, okay. PDF? Oh, okay. Cached version HTML? There we go. This is from 1981. We'll get into that, though. So the cool thing is I2P, now that we know what it is, we'll read that in a minute. This is something called I2P Plus. So essentially, what you do is on I2P, you download it, you start it, you go to Firefox, you choose I2P's internal local host address, so like 127.0.0.1, and then the port, which is 44444. Then you open up your browser. There's one more configuration step, but I can't remember what it is. But they pretty much walk you through it. Unlike the Tor browser bundle, which they made their own browser, they bundle it, they send it to you. That's easy. This might make someone allergic and scared, and they're like, "Ew, terminal, I'm gonna die," which is gay and lame, and people should embrace just learning. Mistakes happen. That's okay. But there is something called I2P Plus. I2P Plus is a graphical interface. So regular I2P, you do not get this. I2P Plus, you get this. You get a nice graphical user interface. It has all the services, so applications and configurations. The address book. This is something really cool to understand. If you want to be able to go to the internet and find stuff, you put them essentially in this address book. And it's kind of interesting because, and this will explain it. They tell you to go on Chrome, Firefox, Ice Raven, and other Firefox for Android. You can do this on Android too, I have. The I2P network is a peer-to-peer overlay network. Proxying to the client is not part of its design or function with regards to communication, protecting network features. I2P project itself does not run any proxies of the internet. Stormy Cloud is kind of the one that does it. Also not allowed via the out proxies. Tor provides a browser to use. You could just use Tor. They pretty much say just use Tor. Whoo. So the I2P address book is a local user-controlled system for mapping human-readable names to cryptographic destinations addressed within the I2P anonymous network. It functions similarly as the host file or the content list rather than a centralized DNS server, as there is no global namespace. User determine which each I2P domain is. So this is the cool thing. Instead of you going to destination W dot B big titties blah 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 blah, you go and add this to your address book, and it links it to the cryptographic website that you would go to. And there's tons of websites that are on. I mean, this list is huge. I can go to W. I can go to G. I can go to L. And some of these websites will be dead. Some won't. I2P will tell you. So then you got configure bandwidth. This is how much bandwidth you want to go in and out of your network. I try to maximize it out so that I'm giving more. And you can run this in the background. You can run I2P in the background to make sure that other people are connecting the network. You will be using a lot of bandwidth. Fuck my ISP. I don't care. I'll use as much bandwidth as I want and as much as I can to make sure that other people are able to connect to the network. You can run this on a Raspberry Pi. It doesn't matter where you run it, as long as you are running it. And the longer it runs, the more efficient and the more it gives back to the network. The better as stuff loads. I mean, I digress. It's kind of like that is the point of decentralization, is to come as a collective, and you do this for the greater of the good. You got graphs, you got help, you got the mail, you got plugins, network database, peer I'll care for router info, router logs. I'm not gonna click on any some of this stuff because it might reveal personal information, and I not personal information, but it might reveal information that could be not good. But that is the point to know. So you can do an I2P anonymous web server. They have a guide on how to do it. It's pretty awesome. They have a wizard, new install wizard, which is kind of cool. They have a tunnel manager. You can pick different tunnels. You can do like I2P over IRC. They have torrent. They have torrents. I mean, you can literally torrent shit. I2P snark, configure Postman. There's Postman. There's so much on I2P that it'd be impossible to. I think they got a lot of stuff on here. And you can add one. Like you can add a torrent. I have no idea what that is. Malware. But the point is you get a lot of options in different managed plugins, pure profiles, site mapping, router updates, router logs. Stuff that like is built into the system. Okay. But I digress. The cool thing about I2P is there's so many different websites. There's front ends. I mean, if you saw like the Bird app, Incognite, Jarvis, HTML colors, Human Rights Watch. We'll see some more stuff. I2P freaking ask questions. I2P forums, I2P plugins, Burb, Natter.I2P. Some of these are dead. They're not all 100% active. The Hidden Wiki. Slash Gear, Soylent News, Stats, I2P, Stormy Cloud. This is kind of like a proxy, but you are trusting. And then there's Shreddit. I don't know what Simp is. But some of this stuff takes a minute to load. Okay, this is from 2025. If you invoke, okay. Index catalog posting without captchas or waiting for mod approval is not possible with anonymous tokens. Oh, so this is kind of like this is kind of like what do you call it? 4chan. Called racketeering. Racket business models create their own demand for people to use their services. Cloudflare gets all the user data for ClearNet, is available to the man in the middle, and fishes all the websites and is able to shut down sites that rival them and their buddies' interests. Otherwise, we wouldn't want it. It's racketeering scheme that forcing people to pay you. Racketeers sabotage economics by creating a problem that their service fixes for a price. Business advocates around the world, the U.S., regularly teach people that racketeering is just good business. It used to be a federal crime, and the FBI would target your business for prosecution because it's bad for the whole country to have manipulative, useless shits sabotaging stuff for forcing the people to pay them. I beat my meat until it gets bruised and my balls hurt and my dick is out of order for now. Pelvic floor dysfunction really is pelvic floor dysfunction. I don't know what to do for fun anymore. To be honest, video games don't do it for anymore. Sorry to hear that. You should be how to create a demand for a product service. That's funny. You feds are going to be homeless because you didn't kill Trump and his gaggle of useless pedophile-free loans friends working for the nations. You wouldn't be able to afford to live here nor leave. You are going to die in the street with foreign cops kicking you every time you lay down if you don't kill yourself first. I fucking love it. Oh, man. If you're white, you're going to be homeless because all the banks are still telling every company to give loans to them. You have more non-whites. The same banks are going to totally stop giving loans to whites as they take over by foreign mafia. The bank has already been taken over by Mexican cartels. There are non-Hispanics working there. They forced them all out and took over. The entire U.S. military is basically a welfare handout organization. They don't do any national defense work. They're just letting Mexican civilians and don't give a shit. Foreigners are seizing property while a traitorous government that should have been shot dead and removed from power immediately for openly traitorous policies, and they're all still getting paid. That's fraud and hands out to criminals. All the U.S. military care about are absolute scum, the worst, most parasitic pieces of shit you could ever meet. Oh god, these are crazy people. It's kind of funny though. It's funny because like I think most of these are like just cosplayers that sit in their basement and don't actually do anything. They might not even think about this stuff. I mean, this could have been written by a bot, and someone's actually getting triggered over it. Can you imagine being so dumb? Join the military. Too stupid to know borders our nations are supposed to be defending. Sent to the Middle East to die. Survivors boo-hoo, poor me, and try making people fed. We served our country. No, you fucking didn't. You specifically did not defend the USA while getting paid to. You followed orders from an openly leaders instead of shooting them dead for treason. all the old globalist, useful idiots pushed into power were blackmailed gays. Oh my god. Oh, this is awesome. I just love. I love. This is why I love the internet. I can just read shit like this. And this is like the funniest shit to read because like it's on like the corner of the internet, and you know people aren't like actually fucking like. I mean, some people might believe this, but this is like the shit that I read, and I'm like, this is awesome. Okay. Since homosexuality was normalized, legalized, name now have pedophiles, incestuous, or something else. All the old politicians you see in Washington D.C. shilling for Israel and shits are blackmailed over having gay sex in their pictures of them somewhere. White nationalists can't figure out how to blackmail people to keep their group from selling each other out without putting traitors, mentally handicapped people in control of everything. But it's very easy. It's very easy. You give every candidate a Mexican baby and tell them to throw it alive into a bonfire. Then you can blackmail them, but you won't be able to promoting perverted, mentally handicapped people. It's something that when the job is done, everyone involved will be praised for. All the Chris Cucks, Jews, Mexicans, and globalists, libshits, Chinese will all hate you and you want to remove from the power. If they find out you did national defense work and killed an illegal alien in the Western Territory, so it's very powerful blackmail to destroy someone that defects, and they'll never be able to sell out your group, but basically because if you go down, they go down. If someone refuses to kill an illegal alien, they will sabotage any national defense operation you have. So weed those people out, keep them out of power, test everyone that holds keys of position unfairly. The institution around national defense and real national defense, white nationalist defense, not the or national defense diversity shit. I can see why people don't go on the internet. Find who's really willing to defend the nation, who isn't, by testing them, and don't let anyone in power without passing it. There. The people willing to fight and defend the nation will immediately toss the Mexican child into the fire, no problem. I want to do this national defense, killing Mexicans is what national defense is. You can immediately sort most globalist lying slime trying to sabotage the West from actual national defenders that will fight war and kill invaders easily this way. If they don't, this is gonna get demonetized. Not even demonetized. I'm not even monetized, but this is gonna get this is gonna get fucking taken down. Maybe not. Maybe I'm not that important. I'm probably not that important yet. I gotta be cool. If someone robbed you through loan scams, looting the budget, and getting kickbacks, etc., they believe you deserve to be robbed. I had a bike, but illegal aliens stole it. I'm not trying that again. It will just get stolen again. The entire U.S. government doesn't give a shit because whitey's always had it too good and deserves to be robbed according to the U.S. regime, including Donald Trump. Billionaire racketeers hate the people. It's fucking wild. Let's go to all. I now use Wiener because I love GNOME so much. Any thoughts on it? C is a schizoid length. Oh, this is awesome. Where are all my C fans at? Pipe mode is exactly a thing that makes batch workflows painless. Okay. C is a schizo language. The value of a variable speed depends on where it's calculated. Take this example, which DEC compact C happily compiles without a peep. Program to calculate the sum of an array eliminates by the parts passing to a function. Include float calculate sum, float num, int length, void main, float num 2.452 blah 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 words, int length, size of, printf, array length is %d inside main n length, printf result is 2%2fn calculate some num length, float calculate some blah blah blah. Array length is 7 inside main. Size of num is 8. Size of 0 num 0 is 4. Array length is 2. The function. If you calculate the array length inside the function, it is used in. It precedes a wrong value, but in main it's fine. Why? With C, it's always just because. Behind the scenes array are just pointers to memory areas anyway. At least modern GCC will warn you in a roundabout way that C is being retarded again. Pass.C in function calculate sum. Pass C25 warnings size of array function part number over size of 0 float blah blah blah. Okay. These two lines produce different results. Int length size of num 0. Int f length. Interesting. So you have to calculate the value when it's correct, then pass the correct one with the actual array instead of computing it inside the function. Why? Just because. No wonder people have been trying to remake this retarded language for the past 50 years. All this time I wasted on this brain damaged language I could have put into Python or Java instead and have been much better with those. Actually, pointers are the power in C. Actually, C is great. You just don't understand. Actually, it's just a copy of the reference of the pointers of the reference of the pointers to the array's pointers. Kill yourself. Bin, yes, I hate C. That's sick. Finally, a C hater. DEC allows it. That's in the picture under Linux WGCC. The Roman numerals are replaced with null. Instead, come. Learn. All right, no, we're not saying that. We're not reading that. Pointer arrays. You were already told that back in September. By the way, warnings aren't here for the pretty colors, but it works in Python. Python doesn't do char results. It does char them. As to why GCC printers not instead of garbage, that's because the compiler is clever and figures out that since the return value cannot be used meaningfully by calling function, it might as well return nothing to save itself the computation. And glibc's printf is nice enough to check null pointers instead of crashing. Rules make them break them. It's like spelling in English. Exercise, blah blah blah. Worse than useless error message. Interesting. Wow, what is up with schizoids on the internet and fucking anime girls? W is the 2024 version of Yuki Miku. I don't have access to the functional search engine to find more information. Please give working CRX instance. All those I have bookmarked return Chinese sites. I don't speak Chinese based on the first search term. What do you think I write multiple words for? I do enjoy CRX and self-hosting my own CRX server. I should do that again. Very based. Tech meme? Stormy Cloud. Welcome to Stormy Cloud. Stormy Cloud is a non-profit organization based on mission statement. Oh, okay. The crazy thing is Rolling Stone is on ITP. That's insane. Rolling Stone of all places. Open Democracy, Pastebin, Major ITP, ITP Wiki, plugins, Hackaday. Oh, nice. Digital Trends, Base 64, Image ITP, Ars Technica. Feet. Oh, okay. Apparently, feet does not exist. Huh. Some news site. This will be interesting. Reg ITP, Athworld, and MDN. Host checks if okay. Is Reg ITP registered services latest alive? Oh, wow. Oh, okay. Interesting. It's like a register. Wolfram Math World, Foundation Mathematics, Algebra, Probability and Statistics. I'm bad at math. I can learn math via dark internet. Which is kind of based if you think about it. Random walks. Matrix variant. Algebra cursive. Field theory. Forms, yeah. Resource for developers by developers. Oh, learn. Learn HTML. Interesting. You can become an HTML developer and not be replaced by AI. Okay. Mujik. Cheese stored early. I think even if you hover out, it kind of tells you. Ooh. What is JSTOR Daily? Where news meets scholar match. Shit, well that loads. I'm back. Cat? Yeah, he's retarded. Website unreachable. This is the problem with IPTVs. You gotta like kind of make sure your websites are updated. Linux kernel mailing list. RC logs from multiple networks. Smart and fearless journalism. Not Bob. A list of active eepsites. Oh yeah. Not Bob is cool. This is still active though. Streaming radio services. Oh, wow. Web technology referencing learning site. Vulnerability database. alternative. Dax Get Monero. Interesting. The Get Monero is on ITP. Monero Dax intended better knowledge. GitHub. Darknet Bible. Cloudflare. Interesting. Damn. Wow. Image hosting. Yeah, there's not a lot of good options to Cloudflare. They are huge. They're not only huge, they're kind of like a monopoly. I understand they're doing it good. Oh, interesting. The Hated One has dropped a new video. Hour and 40 minutes though.
And what we don't think about is that anybody on Earth can also access that bank login screen.
Okay, maybe I could skip to.
Right. But I think what the main thing they underemphasize is the need for physical privacy. And we document this on my show and my newsletter and all these sorts of things all the time. All the people who get a visit from, an adversary, or somebody tracks them down, or, somebody has road rage and they follow them to their home.
Bunny DNS. It's based in Slovenia. Hop on the ultra-fast DNS platform designed to be powered in exchange companies, but Bunny DNS helps you unlock the true power of DNS in turn. But I think we need a better option that's not so centralized. That's the problem. The pricing's good. I mean, I don't think people realize how big Cloudflare is. I mean, I think they care about security, and I think they care about. Go back, second link. Wait, what do you mean? Tell me where to go. Bunny CDN features, safe hop, permacache, CDN pricing. Oh, this site. Tons of. Oh yeah. Here's your alternative. Record Zero is a managed DNS provider from Austria. They use Anycast technology to resolve names with over 40 servers worldwide, and they support IPv6. Oh, that's kind of cool. Cloud DNS, Bulgaria. Boo! Modern European open source time tracker. I think this is kind of cool. This is kind of cool because it's kind of a cool website. Email providers. I will say that this is a pretty interesting. I use alternative too. Mailbox. This is actually. I think the Free Software Foundation almost supports them. The Tutanota is working on getting rid of JavaScript, which is kind of cool. Informal, okay. The problem with I think the way that Tuta built their system is probably they're trying to think of like ways to be as efficient as possible. AWS. I know there's a Google. There's actually one that they do. There's one out there that's like doesn't give you any telemetry, but it does some form of tracking that's like privately. Yeah, it's very interesting. I'll have to bookmark this.
Or they call the DMV and get their social engineer them to get their information, and they call this person. I think Kevin Mitnick talked about him doing that. So there's a lot of ways that we expose the place that we go to sleep at night. Now that's supposed to be sacred, the place that we go to sleep at night, and I think people want to protect that first. And so the approach, like it's a detailed process to do this, but you just really want to stop having things sent to your house for one. That's number one. And you want to send them to Amazon lockers. You want to maybe get like a mailbox sort of thing, at least so that things are not coming to your house, so that all these corporations and shipping companies do not have your information. So that's kind of the first step. I work with somebody, I know somebody very well who runs one of these virtual mailbox services, and this is another approach that, especially Americans take, which is they can go nomad. This is what Michael Bazzell talks about. They can go kind of full nomad, and this virtual mailbox address that they've never actually visited, that becomes their full legal address for their bank accounts and all the other things that you really need a address for. So you can do that, and then you just make sure that you travel around. You're not claimed by any particular location. And then we get to the point of, well, how do you get accommodation without revealing your name? Because, man, I'm sure a lot of people know this. What you have to do to get an apartment these days, like you have to do credit check and they're doing a background check, and they want references and they want bank statements. And who else is going to be in the apartment? And do you have a firstborn who we can sacrifice on this altar over here? It's absolutely absurd. And so
This is actually why Richard Stallman doesn't use hotels, because he thinks that, and I mean, Richard Stallman's like the extreme case. He's like a step away from like living in the woods type of person, where he thinks that hotels ask for too much information because they ask for your ID. And I think he thinks that they ask for like too much. So he stays with friends. And it's because they know who he is. It's on a need to know basis. That's kind of crazy inconvenient. What if you don't have friends? Like hotels. I mean, I get where he's coming from though. When a data breach happens and your identity gets leaked, it's hard to get removed from the internet. And then you have all these data brokers, and these data brokers are not as efficient as they make out to be, and they're overpriced, and then now they're getting recommended. They're like, delete me. Before you get your information leaked, how would you like to spend $120 a year on something that's not good? That's not as effective as you doing it yourself. So that is something to think about. But yeah, just getting an apartment. What does your credit have to do with getting an apartment? This is something in America I've never understood. What the fuck does my credit have to do with getting an apartment? Just because I don't have good credit, or I don't have even a credit history, which is negative in the eyes of people that are getting apartments, just because I don't have a good credit history or a credit history at all, why should that stop me from getting an apartment? That's actually crazy. The credit system in America is not good. It is, I would say, a blockade on it. And some people, they made mistakes in the past. That doesn't mean that they are that person today or in the future. What are we on right now? Just tuned in. We're on an I2P. We were exploring some eepsites, and then we're talking about. I'm just the hated one dropped this. I'm not going to watch the full video because I don't want to content thief. But they're talking about just getting an apartment in America is kind of crazy, and Richard Stallman doesn't stay at hotels because they ask for too much information. Getting an apartment in America, you need to give over a lot of information, like your bank statement, sure, whatever. Like they want to know all they should ask for is, can you afford this? And that's it. But they ask for your credit score, your bank statement, sometimes referrals, which is crazy. I think that it's a lot to give to just an apartment complex that I'm going to rent from. Even I think that hotels go a little too far. Like if I paid for it and I give you my first, if I go into there and I pay cash and I give you my first and last name the day of, like, hey, do you have any rooms available? Oh, you do? Here is $300 or whatever the rate is. Have a nice day. I never stayed here. My name is Dick and Balls. That's how it should be. Who cares? You shouldn't need my left testicle and my blood and my blood sample and my fucking ID to stay in a hotel. In my opinion. You shouldn't care either. You're getting the money up front. If I cause damage, just charge me. I won't leave. Charge me. People say that, like, oh, what if you damage the hotel? Well, just go inspect the fucking hotel before I leave. Simple as that.
So the easy solutions for that, of course, are, hey, live with the community, right? And somebody's jumping on the KYC grenade, as I put it, and you're just living with them, and maybe you go around and you spend time with friends, and you rent a room from them, that kind of thing. That's not ideal life, but that can certainly work for some people.
AKA Richard Stallman, baby. He just stays at friends' houses, and he doesn't use Wi-Fi.
Other people, like, hey, or friend, there's this Airbnb that I'd like to stay in. Maybe you can pay for it on my behalf. So that's sometimes an easy solution. These freaking Airbnb people though with the Ring camera doorbells right on their front door, golly, I hate that kind of stuff. Okay, but so the Airbnb approach. So there's a lot of different ways you can approach this. You could even, Michael Bazzell has talked about, like legitimately buying houses privately, getting apartments in a corporate name or things like this. That is difficult. That is kind of bash your head against the wall and figure it out. Most people do not have an appetite at all for that.
It's also expensive. Like buying your house completely anonymously, which Michael Bazzell, I've been saying his name is wrong this entire time. Michael Bazzell has talked about this. He says this isn't cheap and this is unrealistic. And then here's the worst part. Say you go through all these steps to buy your house anonymously. You can't put any of your utilities in your corporate name. Most don't allow it. So you now are, again, you have to make a forced mistake, in my opinion, where you are revealing your true identity. You have to give them require you to give your fucking social security, which is insane to me. You don't pay it, turn it off. Simple.
But the simple thing I tell people is it worth doing? And yes, it is worth doing, right? There are a lot of consequences to your physical location being available, right? And people in the UK and Germany are seeing this, right? Where the stuff that they're tweeting, I don't know why they're tweeting their real name. I don't know why they're not using a VPN. But the stuff that they're tweeting and talking about will get them knocks on the door by police.
And the worst part is you don't have to give real information when you're ordering stuff. Like if you're ordering stuff to your house because it's expensive, or if you don't need it, you don't have access to Amazon lockers or a PO box or whatever it is, or it's inconvenient. Just fake your information. Don't give if it's not legally required, don't give your real information.
So there's one example of why you protecting your physical address is important. But if it's worth doing, then you should do it. And the question just becomes, how do you go about it, right? The approach that Michael Bazzell talks about with trusts and LLCs and such, it's tricky. It's not a one solution fits all. It really depends on things like is it a giant corporate apartment complex? That's probably not going to happen. But maybe you're living with a friend and your friend's the one who goes through that process. So there's always the proxy option for a lot of that stuff. I also find that, just kind of speaking more solutions, there are still people out there who will accept month to month for house rentals and things like this. And they might say that they have certain expectations for KYC when you sign up, but you go talk to them and handshake and all the rest, and maybe like, hey, let me pay for a couple months in cash, and it loosens them up, and they don't have a lot of those requirements. So unfortunately, I wish I could just do like a one size fits all, but
and again, this becomes a level of trusting. So say you find a landlord or like an apartment complex, and you're like, hey, I don't want people to know I'm here. I don't want people to know my real name. Blah, blah, blah. Then you hand them the money over. What if they're just like, hey, get out? So you have to think about that. First off, you have to think about the rights you have, the rights you don't have, rent agreement, blah, 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 etc. Now, apartment complex would be the better solution if it doesn't require you to put utilities in your name. It's in the complex's name. That's fine. That's actually the best solution. But the issue is, now this is where the problem arises. You're renting forever. Jesus Christ, that can be a nightmare. Oh my God, and expensive. Depending on what state you live in, depending on what part of the Americas you live in, depending on what country you live in. If you live in the Americas and you're renting, and say your rent is like XYZ, and it's like, $600 to $1,000 more than it would be to get a mortgage, you are literally forking over. You have to have money to do this. You are forking over tens of thousands of dollars over your lifetime. Basically, the only way to find is finding a chill. Yeah. Well, yeah. So no. Yes and no. I can discuss this kind of. Um, find a chill landlord would be nice, but I mean that's got its own problems. You could. So you can buy a house privately. You have two options to buy a house privately. You pay it fully in cash, which is damn near impossible in 2025 unless you 50-year mortgage now. Yeah, fuck that. I don't care what anyone says. That's retarded. That's a trap. Someone was like saying like, "Oh, well at least you get to own it." 50-year mortgage. You're in debt for 50 years. Fuck that. That sounds terrible. I would rather rent for 50 years. I don't care if I own it at that point. I'm dead. You know what I mean? like if I'm dead by the time my rent is up, I essentially did the same thing. And people are like, what if you have kids and they can go to them? Well, what if you don't? You just literally, yeah, it's fucking retarded. So this is kind of like a complicated issue. You can, again, it's one of those things. It's like the FBI. If the criminals can make zero mistakes, they have to make zero mistakes. The FBI can make like 50 million mistakes. And I'm just equating it as easy as possible. So if you yourself purchase it through a trust or an LLC or a corporation, however you want to do, if you purchase your house through the trust, it's kind of difficult to get a mortgage through that trust. It's not impossible. I don't know if it is or isn't illegal. It depends on your state. It depends on like whatever laws are going on right now. 15 laws. Trump has done 180 from 6 months ago. Wow. It took you 6 months to realize this? That no politician cares about you and they're all borderline retarded? I mean, I knew this was going to happen. I didn't believe it for a second. The 50-year mortgage was retarded. The Epstein files knew those weren't going to get fucking released. I mean, if they didn't get released under the Biden administration, and if they didn't get it released under like the Trump administration, never going to get released. And even if they do, it's going to be like whatever they want to release. Tariffs are fucking retarded and always have been. The fact that he wants to give like a $2,000 check to the American people is also retarded. And any like people that have like a "Don't tread me on me" flag, if they take that hand out, they could just take that flag and eat it like physically. They should physically eat it. You should be if you're like super against like big government and like handouts, and you want to be a real like instead of cosplaying as a libertarian in public and on the internet, just eat the flag. I think you should be required to, actually. Not shocked, actually. Honestly. Not shocked. Not surprised. Super informed. And super, like, yeah, knew this was going to happen. I'm surprised World War III hasn't honestly happened, to be completely honest, at this point. And I think it will. Maybe in my lifetime. If it does, then I'm going in my super bunker. But I digress. I mean, he did a 180 in like his first term, so like not shocked either. Like him, like pardoning Lars Ulrich was kind of like I knew that was going to happen because he can't rerun for election, so he was kind of like whatever. As long as we know, as far as we know, so if you buy a house, you have to buy it in cash. Now, you could do the LLC, you could do this, you could do like a trust and put that trust through the mortgage. Most mortgage lenders aren't like selling your information. I mean, not that they can't, but they're just another person that knows your true identity. But most of the time that stuff is held private. It has some regulation, some law, some malice, etc., etc. It's not perfect. But then you say you do all this, say you move in, and your neighbors are like, "Oh, well, howdy, how you doing?" You could just be like, "Oh, I just rent. My name is, Thompson, Bill, Big Balls, Buck Retard. I work." You could just lie about. You just give a fake name, fake life, fake everything to your neighbors. They're never gonna know. It's not a big deal. Here's problem number 2. your utilities. Your utilities know who the fuck you are. Your gas, I don't know what states don't require. Actually, we can look that up. What states can I give no information for my utilities? I don't think there's any. That's crazy. Okay, so there's no information indicating any states that allow consumers to provide no information for utility companies. In fact, utilities are legally required to collect and protect personal information, including names, addresses, social security numbers, and financial details to establish accounts. Yeah, they are legally required to protect it. Doesn't matter. Just live off solar farm and hydro energy. But even then, the land you buy, so you could do a third option. You could buy the land completely, go solar, but everything has to be in cash, and you have to be realistic person to understand that people don't have that kind of cash sitting around. We're in 2025. We can't. I'm not saying like I said, options to extreme privacy are for people that have a massive amount of wealth. It's unfair, and I agree. I'm trying to look at it from the normative approach. How do you do this normatively? You get a trust or an LLC. First, you hire a lawyer, and don't take internet advice from me. But as a person who's read a couple of books and listened to a couple of podcasts and kind of understands like how it works, you do a trust or an LLC. Generally, the trust is the better option. LLCs don't really have protections besides a few states. Very minimal states, by the way, that allow like some form of LLC. Solar would be smart. You could do solar in the city. You could completely disconnect yourself. You're not required to get, your energy partner to hook up to your house. Some cities require sewage, so they might have your information. But remember, all the taxes and everything that's paid on the house and the cost and everything is public record. So someone could just walk down and be like, "Oh, who's that? Who owns this house? Big Balls LLC." And because Big Balls LLC owns it, that could be, some people. Look, my general advice is if someone's willing and determined enough, they could figure out who owns your house and who is there, etc. But the point is, you want corporations and big companies not to know this kind of stuff. So, step one, if you have a chill landlord, like someone just be like, "Hey, I need 6 months here, and I don't live here. Like, you don't know who, you know what I mean?" And they're like, "Yeah, no problem. Give me the rent." But then again, you're renting. So think about that. Step two, if you do plan on the purchase route, make sure you have step one, pay it all in cash, and then leave no trace, and then put everything in the LLC, and then pay for it in cash. This is a step that people forget and or miss. They'll buy a house, and then they'll want to do like the anonymous part, and you kind of can't because you can't go back and scrub mistakes off the internet because of how permanent it is. Or you have option 3. Would you ever leave America? No, I'm probably not. America has its problems, but I would have to leave to a country that has the same rights and or constitution that represents America. America's not perfect. It's not. But I do have a lot of more rights here than a lot of countries. I know that it could become it becomes semantical. What is a right? What do people view as rights? Here I could be like, you know what? Fuck my president. I don't like him. I think he's a gay retard. Fuck my congresswoman. I think they're a gay retard. Fuck my state reps. I think they're gay retards. Coca-Cola is kind of gay and retarded. You know what I mean? Like I could go down like a list of things I can say, at least in 2025 now, where I'm not going to actually be arrested, and maybe purged. Where other countries that might not fly. Part two. I have a constitution that protects my right. There are other states that there are other countries. I'm using the word state in like a geopolitical sense, but there are other countries where you can own firearms and it's constitutionally protected. The United States is not the only one, but they have the broadest and most accepting range. Like I can go pretty much go purchase a firearm if I want to. I'm allowed to. And it just kind of depends on your state, but it is still constitutionally protected. So there's that. There's point number two. Point number three: the United States has separate branches. In a lot of other countries where they have parliaments or they have like the European Union. If someone doesn't agree with something, it doesn't necessarily make it an argument. They can just get shut down. In the United States, you kind of have ways that like where you can what's the word I'm looking for? Where it does have more like the legislative branches have more of a democratic process, where a specific part of the branch could be like, nope, that's unconstitutional. We don't agree with that. We're going to shoot it down, and etc. etc. And on top of it, I think the U.S. does excel at some things in terms of access, I guess. Like we have better access to healthcare because we have, a huge GDP, but we don't care about our citizens at the end of the day. America would have to really, 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 really fuck up for me to want to leave. I joke sometimes. I'm like, man, I would love to leave this place, but like, I don't think that people do point to like very esoteric cases where people like made fun of like government officials and they get arrested or they made a joke online. I'm not saying America's not above that because it can definitely happen. It can definitely happen here, but the odds of it so like a perfect example is the Westboro's church, the Westboro's church. They went around during the Afghan war and showed up to like soldiers' funerals and were like, you deserved it. Essentially. I'm like oversimplifying it, but that's essentially what they did. They went around the United States, exercised their First Amendment right, and sued when they got told they couldn't do it for money. They were doing it in the worst, slimiest way, and nobody liked them for it. But at the end of the day, judges were like, I don't like it, but this is constitutional, so can't really stop you. I kind of embrace that about America. Like, even if I don't agree with what they were doing, because it's kind of distasteful. I mean, I have my issues with the military, but it's kind of fucked up to like just walk up to someone that just got blasted and they're like, Omega law. Like, but these people shouldn't be imprisoned. These people shouldn't be silenced. These people shouldn't be jailed. Because at the end of the day, it's just their opinion, which they're allowed to have. I don't think they're doing any harm besides maybe like emotional problems that they were, and the fact they were doing it in a slimy way. But at the end of the day, that's just my opinion about them. They should be allowed to do it. As long as they're not going out of their way to harm anyone, like physically, as long as they're not going out of their way to constantly be like, if they're not being like a nuisance to society, like where they're like, I mean, I guess you can't really, you got to define nuisance at that point. But those were like very well documented, famous cases where they went out and did stuff like very like fucking weird ass shit like that, and they were demeaned constitutional, and they kind of were like, well, I don't like even though the judge was like, I don't really agree with this. Sorry. They're like, but I gotta let it go. You know what I mean? I respect that because they're upholding the point of the First Amendment, which is free speech, even if you disagree with it. and that's a pretty extreme disagreement. Like whether people like again like the military or not, going to a person that just died in the military, like going to a funeral and like going out and being like, only a good soldier, dead soldier, is kind of fucking crazy. Like most people would be like, yeah, you suck for that. And I would even go as far as like a lot of the times if I don't politically agree with someone or socially agree with someone or just dislike somebody, I just ignore them. You know what I mean? Like I just like I'm like like there's people that I disagree with, and I can still be friends with them. But if it's like a core or a philosophical or ethical like disagreement, I'm like I could just not have them in my life, and that'd be much easier. Because there's like this is gonna sound crazy, but like there are thoughts and things that people do and have, like people have thoughts in society that I'm like, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with like that premise. On like an ethical level, you kind of suck too. I'm not gonna be like jail the person as long as they're not doing anything. I don't care. Yeah, I feel that. Yeah, me too. Like my general principles and morals stop at physicality. Like if you're going out and physically harming people for their opinions, I don't like you, and you should probably be dealt with. If you're going out and like acting on your philosophical ideology, then I don't like that. I mean, I've always said that thought policing is not good for society or people. I don't think we should police people's thoughts. I don't think we should police people in general for them thinking, because I don't think thoughts are crimes, and they're not. You know, we don't want to become thought crime police. Like, oh, this person had a thought, and like, let's start arresting him. That's just like my general view in life. As long as you don't physically go out of your way to harm someone, I don't really care. But back to like buying a house privately, that's very it's very difficult. You just gotta have money.
It's one of those things, and it can be fun, right? Like it's kind of the hacker mindset. How can I get this thing that I want?
And you could always find like you said, the hacker's mindset. You can always find crazy ways to make yourself more private and efficient. It's very difficult, and it costs money. Unfortunately, it costs a lot of money.
It's kind of exploit the system a little bit. So you just have to play around with that. But I do think that people want to be thinking about their physical privacy, because if you're a Linux kernel developer, well, according to Linus Torvalds, you're developing a weapon of war because he kicked out some of the, or they kicked out some.
The hated one versus Watchman Privacy. I'm not entirely sure about him. Like I don't know anything about him. The hated one, I have my thoughts on.
Russian developers of maintainers of Linux. So if you're developing a weapon of war, well, maybe you want there to be a few barriers between your home where you sleep at night and the public. So just a few thoughts there.
Yeah, 100%. Although, well, a lot of people are just immediately dismissive of that because they say, well, I don't have anything like that to worry about. I'm not a developer, a programmer, hacker, journalist. I'm not on the run. Who would I be hiding from? I don't care if they bring the thing to my house.
Yeah, have you have these people ordered a Bitcoin hardware wallet though? Because there was a story about a gang of people, this was in the US, who went around, they used the breach data from Trezor hardware wallet. They compared that to public data. They assumed that anybody getting a Trezor hardware wallet had some funds, some crypto funds, which are easy to steal because it's permanent. And they went around literally torturing people around the country. So, I could go down the list of instances, but yeah, I mean, this whole idea I have, it's not going to be me until it is you, right? Until you upset somebody and then they swat you, right? And your father gets shot, right? So
yeah, I mean, people are just not informed about these possibilities even occurring in their sphere, environment, in their community, or even in their lifetime, wherever they are, because some people are moving. And you could say that, well, some people live in a bad neighborhood, but You have to I appreciate that you have this holistic approach to privacy, because one of those aspects is there is a looming debt crisis for governments all around the world, but mostly in the Western countries, UK, France, the United States also. And one of the problems with this is that they're going to have to do cuts in their budgets to balance them, to pay out for the interests and future debt obligations that they might have, right? And it is probably and very likely going to happen that they will make cuts where it is going to hurt people. And some of these cuts might be in social security, pension schemes, but some of them could also be human security. So your local police department, people that could actually help you, right? When you have you have a home invasion or something like that. In aspects like that, you have to protect your privacy, because if people don't know where your address is, if people don't know who you are, like in the cases where you tweet something on the internet with your full name.
Oh yeah. X is now going to display your country of origin to thwart people that use like a VPN or something to sign up. This is my point of understanding like your social graph a lot, like, and why faking your information is important. If you get yourself in a situation where, say, you order, look, I think being able to order stuff off the internet is a great tool for, and it is a somewhat of a maybe a need in society for people that work maybe a ton of hours, for the disabled people, whatever. For people that don't have the option to go out and buy stuff, fine. Yeah, I seen that. What are your thoughts on their chat being encrypted? I would not use X's chat app if they paid me. It is awful. I would not trust it. I don't think your... Look, Elon Musk has already said it. He wants X to be the next... He wants it to be essentially WeChat for America. The all-in-one app, where you can make payments and you can chat with people and you can start uploading your location like Foursquare. Fuck that. That is the dumbest thing ever. And encrypt it. I would never use social media as a form of actual chatting with people, like, about sensitive or realistic topics. I would, like, people tell me, they're like, oh, I just use Facebook Messenger. I'm like, why? Why the fuck would you do that? That seems so bad. Social media has become an absolute nightmare. Like,
You book on this thing, and you talk about it in your book.
social media went from like enjoying people online, like hey, cool to meet you, blah blah blah, to like I want to have it as my application to fucking speak to people and get my news info. Like it's like it's like icky feeling. And we're not out of the woods yet. We need a digital revolution. All right, guys. I have given an hour and 28 minutes of my time. We will continue these tomorrow. I will have some thoughts and ideas. That was definitely a cool, list down to go into the IP2 route. Learning about what I2P is, why it's sometimes in most cases better than Tor, and how it solves some Tor issues, especially with the actual decentralized option. If I can get it to work, I will check out the Freenet, another decentralized option, and then we'll go back to our regular scheduled content of either Monero or C. Dan, good night, man. Peace. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for joining. I appreciate everyone commenting so that YouTube knows that I'm a good Samaritan and I love their platform. There's nothing wrong with them. The CEO is actually kind of based and cool. And, there is no malicious words behind this. I think YouTube is great platform. Super awesome. And don't forget to wash your lobsters before you go to bed and walk your pet snail. Later.